I'm a pretty adventurous guy. I love going out on the land with just a backpack and perhaps a hammock, setting it up and just living out on the land. Once in a while, I'll take some young men with me who want to learn, survival skills or perhaps how to build their own fire or shoot a gun. I like mentoring and I like teaching people about adventure, and I thought I really was adventurous. That is until I saw this. Now, if you've never seen it before, this amazing sport is called powered paragliding or paramotoring. The paramotor is the two-stroke engine with a propeller that is strapped to your back, and the wing, which provides lift, is the paraglider. As with any sport, there was a lot to learn. In fact, with this sport, there was probably more than most. So I did my research, hopped in my car, and I was off to Florida.
Alright, finally doing it. Heading off to Florida tonight. Gonna get my brand new paramotor. And unfortunately, it's a 14-hour drive to get there. And DFW traffic is absolutely horrendous right now. So, this is gonna be a really, really, really long drive. But I'm excited.
And that excitement stayed with me for quite a while. Once in Florida, I learned the art of kiting, or being able to control the wing above your head while you're standing on the ground. This is actually a lot harder than it looks. Once I had mastered kiting, I was off to the next step, which is the tow line. The tow line pulls you up in the air and teaches you what it feels like to be pushed into the air, control a little bit of the wing while you're in the air, and then to practice your landing. Something that later on I would have quite a bit of difficulty with. The time had finally come for my first solo flight. So after kiting for a little bit, and then revving up the engine and almost taking out my instructor, I was off the ground, no strings attached, except those that kept me attached to the wing. At this point, I was in heaven. I could have stayed up there for hours. I felt free, I felt alive. I got to experience something so few people get to do. At this point, I knew that this was something that I was going to do for a long time to come. But as they say, what goes up must eventually come down, and the same applies to me. This was the start of what was to become many unsuccessful landings. But that did not deter me. In fact, I didn't even care about coming down. All I wanted to do was just keep going up. Once I got home, I couldn't wait to get up in the air again. So I went to the closest park, checked the wind, and again I was flying. And with the coming of darkness, eventually I had to land. And, this only being my 4th flight, I hadn't quite mastered landing yet. The next day, as I was heading out to fly, I happened to see a paramotor on the back of another person's car. I decided to follow them to a soccer field, and that's where I met some guys who had been in the sport of paramotoring for quite a while. They invited me to fly with them, and I had so much fun. Flying by yourself is fun, but not as much as enjoying it with others. After flying with them for over an hour and thinking I was going to run out of gas, eventually it was time to come out of the sky, and they were about to learn something that I already knew, and that was that I hadn't quite mastered landing yet. With a few bruised ribs and a bigger bruised ego, the guys had told me I should try a different wing, a smaller wing that would make it easier to fly but not necessarily easier to land. They also introduced me to their instructor and his wife, a friendly couple who had let me borrow a wing to see if I liked it. And boy, did I ever. Eventually I had to come in to land, and I found the wing surprisingly easier to control. Now, I didn't nail the landing, but at least I didn't end up with a railroad tie in my chest. A few days later, the entire group invited me on a cross-country flight around a lake. I cannot express to you how thankful and grateful and wonderful I felt flying with this group. Paramotoring truly was everything I thought it would be, and so much more. But it wasn't just the feeling of being up in the air with a group of people and the beauty I saw in front of me. My skills were actually getting better minute by minute by minute. The lessons I learned over the last few weeks have been invaluable to me, and in the next few videos I'll explain some of those lessons so maybe I can help out someone else who's getting into this sport for the first time. One lesson I definitely won't be able to help out with is landing.